You don't need to study 6 hours a day or score 90s on simulated exams to be ready to pass the CPA exam. But if you're doing these 6 things, you might already be on track to pass the exams, even if it doesn't feel like it. These aren't the typical tips you've heard before, and if you even recognize just a few of these in your own journey, it probably means you're doing better than you think. First up might be the most important one. You know why you want to become a CPA. When I talk with students who are trying to pass the exams, this is one of the first questions I ask them. Why do you want to be a CPA? If you can tell me a good answer, then I'm very confident in your ability to pass this exam. It's the students who struggle to answer that question who I'm a little worried about, because the CPA exam is very difficult. It's not an easy thing. You're gonna hit, walls. You're gonna hit moments where you don't want to do it. And if you don't have a why, if you don't have a reason why you want to, achieve this, why you want to pass these exams, it's easy to give up. That's just the honest truth of it. But if you have something, a why, something you're fighting for, whatever it is, that's what's going to keep you going. That's what it's going to pull you as far as you need to go. It's going to pull you across the finish line, that why. Maybe when I said that, you instantly knew what your why was, which is awesome. That's great. But if you didn't, do some self-reflection. Figure out, why is it that I want to pass this exam? Is it something that I just mindlessly decided to do? I mean, hopefully not, maybe not. But even if it is, do some reflection. There's probably something deeper down. Why do I actually want to become a CPA? Why am I not just content with being an accountant? I want to get certified, and do some self-reflection on what it is about you and your situation that really makes you want to achieve this thing, because that's what you're going to have to hold on to when things get hard and when you don't want to study. It's your why. That's what's going to keep you going. So I like to think of your why as something that's pulling you. But the next thing I'm going to talk about is the thing that's pushing you. The next sign that you're on track to pass the CPA exams is that you actually scheduled your exam, which I know sounds kind of dumb, but that's so important. I can't tell you how many students start studying and want to take the exam, but they just never actually study it or schedule their exam date. They just get too scared or nervous, whatever it is, and they never want to set their exam date, and they just keep studying and studying and studying until they eventually just give up or burn out or whatever it is. But if you've scheduled that exam date, congratulations, that's a huge first step, because you're never going to pass the exams if you don't take it. Like I said, you have your why over here that's, hopefully pulling you, but then you have your exam date here, which is pushing you. So hopefully they're both bringing you closer and closer to passing. But that exam date is so important. Like I said, too many people want to do it, but they never actually schedule their exam. You have to schedule the exam to be able to pass it. So if you've done that, congratulations. If you haven't, get on it, schedule your first exam. So I covered, your pull factor and your push factor, but now we actually have to talk about what you're doing on the day-to-day. And the next sign that you're on track to pass the CPA exams is that you plan out your study sessions. If you're sitting there a day before, a week before, even an hour before, a minute before your study session, and you're planning out what you're gonna do that day, that's a very good sign. It shows you're thinking, critically and analytically about what you're doing. You're not just jumping into the textbook mindlessly and, doing the work. You're actually planning it and trying to, come up with a plan that's going to get you to where you want to go. Because yes, we all know the CPA exam is going to take a lot of work, but you want to work smart. You want to make sure you're studying in the highest leverage areas, in your weak areas, and covering all the content. You're not just mindlessly, opening the book to the next page and just going through it. That's important, but you want to plan these things out to make sure you're going forward and, staying on track with the new content, but also going back and reviewing old content. And a great way to do that is by planning out your study session so you know exactly what you need to do each day. And this is also great for stress management, because if you know exactly what you need to do each day, you're not going to be stressed. You're just going to say, oh, I have these things to do, check them off my list, and move on. That's much less stressful than saying, I need to study today, I need to study for 4 hours. That's so vague, and you never really feel complete afterwards. No, plan out your session ahead of time and feel accomplished and complete once you get it done. So planning the study sessions is super important, but I do think it's a little bit obvious. This next one I think is a lot less obvious, but just as important. The next sign that you're on track to pass these exams is if you talk to your friends and family about the exam. This is really important because you want people in your life to, know what you're working towards, know what you're going through, because it is a lot. It takes up a lot of time. So hopefully the people around you are aware of that and understand exactly the commitment that you're making. For one, it shows that you're serious about it because you're talking to other people about it and you're telling them about it, and hopefully that social aspect of it almost guilt you into studying, because if you tell everyone, oh, I'm going to do this, and they see you not doing it, well, no one wants to appear that way. So if you're telling people, hopefully it'll provide a little motivation for you to actually study and work towards it. But also hopefully those people in your life can help you stay accountable and be like, hey, how's it going? Checking in and hey, have you been studying? Keep you accountable, keep you sane, all that sort of stuff. Just having people in your life who know what you're doing, can be so helpful for a million reasons. So yeah, tell your parents, tell your partner, your friend, your dog, your coworkers, like whoever, just tell people about it. And hopefully that'll help you, stay motivated, and they can, also keep you accountable and sane at the same time. The next sign that you're on track to pass the CPA exams is if you have bombed a simulated exam or even a real exam. Because if you've bombed one of these exams and you're still here, you're still studying, you're watching videos like this, and you want to pass this exam, that shows great resilience. And a lot of people would have been put down by that and burnt out and just not want to keep going. But the fact that you're still doing this shows that you really are dedicated and you have your mind set on this. And with the CPA exam, that's really the most important thing. Because trust me, I was in that position. I bombed a simulated exam and it honestly killed my confidence and really just made me feel horrible for a few days. But what did I do? I brushed myself off and I got back into studying, and what do you know? I kept going and I passed the exams. So if you're willing to do the same thing, you have a great chance of passing these exams, because there will be setbacks along the way, but it's about how you respond to those. That's what really matters. So I know that one sounded a little counterintuitive, but I think this last point is the one that probably sounds the most surprising and counterintuitive on first sight. And the final sign that you're on track to pass the CPA exams is if you don't spend 5 or 6 hours of studying a day. Like I said, it sounds kind of counterintuitive that I'm saying you shouldn't be studying for 5 or 6 hours a day, because you'd think you want to study more, but that is like the number one way to lead to burnout, is people who are really motivated at the start and they decide, I am not working right now, so I'm going to study for 8 hours a day or something crazy like that. Well, what inevitably ends up happening is they either try to keep this up and they just get super burnt out and kind of just give up on the exams, or they realize this is super unsustainable, super unrealistic, and unnecessary. You don't need to study that much every day. And they, reduce it back to a normal 2 to 4 hours of studying a day, which is much more manageable and, is going to allow you to stay consistent, because trying to study like Becker or whatever review materials you have for 8 hours a day is just going to be so draining if you try to do that every single day. So the key is finding a repeatable pattern and system that you can do every single day. Yes, it should be hard work. It should be a few hours, but it shouldn't be something that's going to lead you to burnout within 2 weeks. With the CPA exams, consistency is key. So if you're able to see yourself in even just a few of those signs, you're probably doing better than you think. And if not, try to reflect on what I just said and what you're currently doing and see how you can improve that to, make yourself more likely to pass going forward. But if you want real one-on-one support from someone who's been through the process, check the link down below, because I've started mentoring students through the entire CPA exam process. So if that's something you're interested in, check the link down below and you can find out more information there. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.